True or false? Virtually every social problem we have can be traced back to a problem in a family. True. Next question, true or false? Every child deserves a mother and a father. Doesn't mean every child gets one, but every child deserves one. This is David Blankenhorn, who wrote a book. He's a liberal Democrat. He wrote the book, The Future of Marriage, and he nails it. He is for gay, quote-unquote, gay rights, but he's not for same-sex marriage, and here's why. Across history and cultures, marriage's single most fundamental idea is that every child needs a mother and a father. Changing marriage to accommodate same-sex couples would nullify this principle in culture and in law. He said, one can believe in same-sex marriage, one can believe that every child deserves a mother and a father, one cannot believe both. How so? Well, let me ask you this. Who is this? Britney Spears. Now, Britney Spears got into a lot of trouble for this picture. Why? Why'd she get into trouble? She is driving with her baby on her lap. The baby is not secured in a car seat. She is a moral monster. Now, you guys are too young to remember this, but the older folks in the back will remember. When I was growing up, my dad used to do this with me all the time. I would sit on his lap I'd steer the car through town. In fact, Bruce Springsteen, from where I'm from, has a song. I steer the car through town, Asbury Park. And nobody ever thought my parents were moral monsters. And for those of you old enough, you remember going on vacation with your family before there were car seats. You just had that big long station wagon with the wood grain on the side. And, and everyone would pile in the back. And nobody would be buckled in. You'd be crawling all over the seats, all of, 400 miles. Nobody cared. But now, you could be brought up on criminal charges for doing this. Why? What changed? What changed? The law changed. The law changed. The law is a great teacher. Many people think whatever is legal is moral, whatever is illegal is immoral. Now, there's a synergistic effect here. Sometimes culture helps change the law. Other times, the law helps change the culture. Sometimes there's a synergy there. But the law is important. It teaches people right from wrong. In fact, this is true on abortion. 1973, the states, most of the states, in fact, all 50 states, had some law against abortion. Then, in one day, 7 unelected justices in black robes overturned the will of the people just like that. In 1973, Roe v. Wade. They said the right to life, no more. Now we're about evenly split on the issue. Well, what changed? The law changed. Many people think whatever is legal is moral and whatever is illegal is immoral. And so Christians cannot give up on the law, not just because the law is important to behavior and important, obviously, to keeping people safe, but also it's important to attitudes. How many times have you heard the law can't change hearts? Well, it can't change hearts, but it can change attitudes. Attitudes about right and wrong. And this is what same-sex marriage is basically telling people. Same-sex marriage is saying that marriage between a man and a woman is equivalent to marriage between a man or a woman and a woman, which means what? Marriage doesn't have anything to do with children. Marriage has everything to do with just coupling. That's where this is headed. Well, if there isn't an institution for children called marriage, what institution is for children? Now, we understand some marriages don't have children, but the only ones that do have children are heterosexual. There's exceptions to every rule, but there are no exceptions to the rule that 2 men or 2 women don't procreate. So you can't say the relationships are equal. The law is a great teacher. Stanley Kurtz, who wrote for the Weekly Standard, talked about same-sex marriage in Scandinavia, said Scandinavian gay marriage has driven home the message that marriage itself is outdated and that virtually any family form, including out-of-wedlock parenthood, is acceptable. In Norway, where they fly gay rainbow flags over the churches there, some areas of Norway have a 70% out-of-wedlock birth rate. 70%. Because people still have kids, but they just don't get married to have kids anymore, which is a disaster for everyone. It's a disaster for the kids because those individuals break up at much higher rates than married couples. It's a disaster for society because once the family breaks down, then the government has to bloat itself to try and pick up for what the family should have been doing from the very beginning. Again, you cannot bifurcate the moral and the social issues. And this is the goal of many same-sex marriage advocates. Michelangelo Signorelli put it this way: homosexual activists must fight for same-sex marriage and its benefits, and then once granted, redefine the institution of marriage completely, to demand the right to marry, not as a way of adhering to society's moral codes, but rather to debunk a myth and radically alter an archaic institution. What's the archaic institution? Marriage. The most subversive action lesbian and gay men can undertake is to transform the notion of the family entirely. Now, Signorelli is I may not be saying his last name right, but he is a radio host on Out Radio, XM 98. Sometimes I listen to it to see what's going on. He's on the radio right now. He went on to say this: our gay leaders must acknowledge that gay marriage is just as radical and transformative as the religious right contends it is. Paula Edelbrick, who unfortunately just died recently, she was a gay activist, said, being queer is more than setting up house, sleeping with a person of the same gender, and seeking state approval for doing so. Being queer means pushing the parameters of sex and sexuality, and in the process transforming the very fabric of society. This is not live and let live. You say, oh, sure it is. There's not going to be any negative effects. Let's go to Massachusetts, which is the longest state to have same-sex marriage. Started in 2004. In Massachusetts, parents have no right to opt or to know or to opt out when homosexuality is being taught in schools. This man was actually jailed. He was a father who demanded to know when homosexuality was being taught to his second grader. And they said, sorry, same-sex marriage is the law of land here in Massachusetts. You have no right to know that. We are going to push that value down. And you don't have any right to know. He got so upset they arrested him. He spent a night in jail. One school administrator in Massachusetts put it this way: the goal is to reach kids before they absorb their parents' values. By middle school, it's too late. This is called indoctrination. Taxpayer money now goes to fund advocacy groups that promote homosexuality in schools. In 2011, in Massachusetts, the only group to get an increase in funding was this group. Everybody else is on this very tight budget, cut budget, not the gay rights groups. Businesses must now give benefits to same-sex couples. I don't care if you're a Christian business owner. If you're given benefits to heterosexual couples, you have to now give benefits to same-sex couples. There's no conscience clause. There's no, I have a moral objection. So sad, too bad.